So in Baldur's Gate, the descent into Avernus, you are taking us into a very different realm. Hell, essentially.
Yes.
Well, not essentially. It really is hell.
It really
This is Avernus. This
Yes.
is the land of devils and also some demons. Why do you hate players? Why did you want to send them to this location?
That's a really good question. To answer the first part of your question is, I don't hate players. I just like to challenge them inordinately.
Well, we kind of knew that we always wanted to visit Hell. I don't think we've really ever done a big Hell adventure before. We had chats about, the 9 Hells. We'd done Mordenkainen's where we'd gone through and we'd kind of blown out the Blood War and what that was all about.
The Blood War being this eternal or everlasting conflict between the forces of law and chaos in the lower planes. It's essentially evil fighting and consuming itself, which is kind of a theme that exists in humanity.
Right.
And the damage that consumption or self-destruction can have on the innocent. And in order to get a taste of the Blood War, we wanted to set up this story in which the characters find themselves kind of on the fringes of it. You never want to be in the Blood War. That's just
Right.
terrible.
You just want to be around the Blood War.
You just want to see it and go, oh, okay, things are much worse over there. But we knew that we wanted to bring the Blood War back in a story in some way, and this was the perfect story to do it in.
What were some of the challenges in approaching that? Because there had not ever been a ton of lore necessarily about the 9 Hells and Avernus. You had to do so much fleshing out.
Well, I didn't.
Well, yeah, Adam Lee had to do it. Adam Lee had to do all the work.
This was Adam's story.
Yeah.
I'm coming in on the back end to stitch it all together.
And then as far as hating players, yeah.
Yeah. Let's get back to hating players.
Yeah, it was, one of the things we had to work out was, when you go down into Hell as a 1st level or 4th level character, how
Which is
do
a
you
bit
deal
low.
with this?
It's a bit low for Hell.
It's a bit low for Hell, yeah.
Yeah.
And at first it was like, oh, this is a problem. We're probably not be able to do it. We'll have to make it maybe a 5th through 15th or 5th through 15th level dungeon. But the more I kind of sat with it, the more I was like, no, I kind of like it. I kind of like when you go down there and you are out of your depth and you are dealing with horrendously powerful monsters. Mm-hmm. The neat thing, though, is I don't think doing it into the abyss would work as well as going into Hell, because devils don't necessarily want to kill you right off the bat.
Right. Whereas demons
just want to kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Demons just want to they want to take your skin off and they want to decorate their homes with it. Whereas devils, they might be way stronger than you, but they are looking at you as how do I get your soul out of your body? How do I make you a pawn? How do I corrupt the goodness within you? So once I was got to that point, I was like, okay, this is going to be great. Mm-hmm. This is putting the pressure on the player as you're basically you're very vulnerable down there.
Right.
And the temptation is to give it up. Give up all your heroic aspirations.
All right.
And just sell out and just be I can't beat him.
The kernel of the story that we played with, or rather that Adam and company played with, was this idea that Avernus was kind of like a honey trap. Asmodeus created it as kind of like a, hey, come to Avernus where the sun always shines and you can get the best hand. And it was basically this tourist trap, this paradise that then demons invaded. Well, the river Styx sort of intruded upon it. Demons sort of spilled out and they ruined everything. And it's just been a despoiled, blasted landscape ever since. But this idea that it was a paradisical land at one point, and now it's been just sort of decayed and corrupted and let go. Essentially all the gardeners fled and nobody looked after them. Once you get to Avernus and you're just bombing around in your infernal war machine or whatever, you can stumble upon these sites, these places that hearken to something ancient, and you can explore them. You can also explore other things like wrecked flying fortresses and other goodies. You can also, I think some players, particularly the role players, will enjoy making deals, trying to get
Yes.
the better of some of the local residents. I think another fun thing to play with as a DM in this adventure is the Wandering Emporium, which is
What is this?
It is a traveling market on the backs of gigantic infernal war machines. It basically prowls around Avernus.
In Baldur's Gate, the descent into Avernus, what part of the story is Baldur's Gate? And what is this city? Describe this for people that don't know.
Don't know about Baldur's Gate. So Baldur's Gate, yeah, it's the Gotham of the Sword Coast.
Okay.
And it's built on the side of a kind of like a cliff, really, that goes. It's alongside a river. So it's a port town. It's kind of like a London in a way. And what it is it's really divided along social lines of wealth. The wealthy people live on the top, and the further down the hill you go to the river, to the docks, the more rough and tumble it gets and seedy it gets. And then it's a walled city, and so there are many gates that go in. Baldur's Gate being what it's named for, but outside of the walls, then there's even seedier sections. And it can get really rough out there, and there's no police out there. So if you're traveling around in those parts, you kind of need it's sort of like the Mos Eisley Cantina. Like, you better be able to handle yourself. You start to notice and realize that there's things going on and you get tied into the whole the intrigue of what's going on. And there are 4 dukes that run the city. And then you start to realize that maybe with some of the dukes that are involved in this corruption, and it's diabolical in nature, and then one thing leads to another, and then you're off, and you're embroiled in this plot. So that's how the adventure kicks off.
How does that bring us to Alterel?
So Alterel is connected to Baldur's Gate by the river. They're probably a couple hundred miles up the river is the city of Alterel. And Alterel, you hear about it through a courier or through people who are reporting, and they say, "Oh my gosh, Alterel has just been taken. Like, it has disappeared. It has just become a smoking crater, and something terrible has happened there." And you're, as the characters, you're like, "Well, that's awful. Like something," and then you start to realize, oh, there are these things that are happening in Baldur's Gate. Devils are at work. This Baldur's Gate could be next in this toppling and this domino of cities getting claimed. And as you go through the adventure, you start to learn about the reason why these cities are getting taken. And then you make the connection, and then your mind goes,
So cities are literally being snatched up in Faerun
yeah.
and sent to hell.